It was on a stormy autumn night when I first stepped into Ichibanya, the most prestigious and mysterious restaurant in town. I had recently landed a job as a server there, and little did I know, my life was about to change forever. Ichibanya was housed in a grand Victorian-era mansion that exuded an air of faded elegance. Its crimson walls and ornate chandeliers spoke of opulence from a bygone era. The entrance was flanked by tall oak trees, whose branches scraped the windows, creating eerie shadows that danced across the walls. There was something unsettling about the place, but I chalked it up to my nervousness on my first day. I was greeted by Mr. Tanaka, the restaurant manager, a man of few words with a perpetual glint of suspicion in his eyes. He showed me to my station, an intimate corner with a view of the grand dining hall. The room was dimly lit, and the low murmur of conversation gave it an otherworldly feel. The patrons were an eclectic mix of society's elite, dressed in suits and gowns that whispered secrets of their own. My first few days passed without incident, aside from the occasional feeling that I was being watched. The other servers spoke in hushed tones about the strange occurrences at Ichibanya, but I dismissed them as superstition. Then, one night, as I was serving a table of dignitaries, I felt a cold hand on my shoulder. I turned, expecting to see a colleague, but there was no one there. The guests stared at me, their eyes wide with curiosity. "I think you've had too much to drink," I stuttered, forcing a smile. But the unease lingered, like a shadow that refused to disappear. That's when I first noticed the whispers not from the patrons, but from the very walls themselves. It was as if the mansion held secrets that it was itching to reveal. The next evening, while setting up a table in the private dining room, I heard it again, the faint whisper of voices. I froze, my heart racing. The voices seemed to be coming from behind a large antique mirror that adorned the room. I approached cautiously, my reflection distorted in its aged glass. As I got closer, the whispers grew clearer, but the words remained elusive, like a ghost's breath on my ear. That night, after my shift, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong at Ichibanya. I decided to do some research. It was then that I discovered the dark history of the mansion. Ichibanya had been the home of the enigmatic Yamaguchi family, who had lived there for generations. Rumors had it that they were involved in unsavory dealings, but no one could prove anything. The family was known for their lavish parties, extravagant even by the standards of the town's elite. But one fateful night, the mansion had burned to the ground, taking the lives of the entire Yamaguchi family. The cause of the fire was never determined, and the mansion had stood abandoned for years until it was transformed into the restaurant I now worked at. The whispers I heard in the mirror seemed to be the voices of the Yamaguchi family, forever trapped in the walls of the mansion. The revelation chilled me to the bone, but it didn't prepare me for what happened next. One evening, as I was serving a couple celebrating their anniversary, I saw a figure at the end of the hallway. It was a woman in a flowing white gown, her hair cascading over her shoulders. She glided toward the dining room, her movements ethereal. I approached her, my heart pounding in my chest. "Ma'am, do you have a reservation?" She turned to face me, her eyes empty voids. She spoke in a voice that sent shivers down my spine. "I've been waiting for you." I stepped back, my breath catching in my throat. "I'm sorry, but you must have me confused with someone else." But she continued to advance, her hand outstretched. "You don't remember me, do you?" Before I could respond, Mr. Tanaka rushed over, a look of panic in his eyes. "Madam, I apologize for the inconvenience. Please, allow me to escort you to your table." He led her away, sparing me a quick glance filled with warning. The other servers avoided my gaze, and I knew I was in deep trouble. That night, after my shift, Mr. Tanaka beckoned me into his office. His face was pale, and his hands trembled as he poured 2 glasses of sake. "You've seen her, haven't you?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I nodded, my throat dry. "Who is she?" Mr. Tanaka took a deep breath. "That woman is Kiyoko Yamaguchi, the youngest daughter of the Yamaguchi family. She died in the fire that consumed this mansion." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "But she can't be. She can't be here. Her spirit is trapped here to comb these halls for eternity," he explained. "The Yamaguchi family's dark secrets have bound them to this place, and they won't rest until they find someone to take their place." I felt a chill run down my spine. "Take their place? What do you mean?" Mr. Tanaka's eyes were haunted. "They need a living soul to join them in their eternal torment. That's why they've been watching you. They want you to become a part of this cursed mansion." I shook my head, my mind reeling. "There must be a way to break the curse, to free them." Mr. Tanaka's expression grew even grimmer. "There is, but it comes at a terrible price. To break the curse, some must willingly offer their soul to the Yamaguchi family, becoming a part of the mansion forever." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "And if I refuse?" Mr. Tanaka's voice was filled with despair. "Then they will never let you leave. You'll be trapped here with them, forever tormented by their whispers and their presence." I left Mr. Tanaka's office in a daze, torn between the dread of becoming a part of Ichibanya's dark legacy and the fear of being trapped within its haunted walls. Days turned into weeks, and the whispers grew louder, the shadows darker. Kiyoko Yamaguchi appeared more frequently, always beckoning me with her empty eyes. I knew I had to make a decision, and it had to be soon. One evening, as I stood before the antique mirror, I saw the reflection of Kiyoko standing beside me, her hand extended. I hesitated for a moment, then, with a heavy heart, I took her hand. A cold chill washed over me, and I felt a strange sensation, as if my very essence was being drawn into the mirror. The whispers around me grew deafening, and I closed my eyes, surrendering to the darkness. When I opened my eyes, I was standing in the grand dining hall of Ichibanya, but everything was different. The patrons were gone, the chandeliers dimmed, and the walls seemed to close in around me. I was no longer a server. I was a part of the mansion, bound to it for all eternity. I heard a faint whisper behind me, and when I turned, I saw Kiyoko, her eyes no longer empty, but filled with gratitude. She smiled, a sad and ghostly smile, as if she had finally found release. And so, I became a part of Ichibanya, joining the Yamaguchi family in their cursed existence. I whisper to the servers who come after me, warning them of the price of entering this prestigious but haunted restaurant. For in the grandeur of Ichibanya lies a darkness that can only be escaped by offering your soul to the legacy of the past.